Hey guys, it's Tealis here. Welcome back to True Shot Lodge. The sun is setting here and I am ready to bring you the next hunter specialization and probably the one spec that everyone is most interested in, and that is Survival Hunter. Survival Hunter is the single spec in the game that is being changed the most. Across all specs in the game, this is absolutely different and this is completely brand new. There are only about 2-3 abilities. I could probably count them on one hand how many or how many returning abilities you will see as a survival hunter. This spec is as new as demon hunters in the game. That's how much it has changed. How much has it changed, you may ask? Well, survival hunters are now melee hunters. They're melee warriors, which is just mind-blowing when you think about it. Whoever thought that hunters would have a melee class? If you remember way back in Burning Crusade, hunters did have this Rambo spec where you kind of went into survival a little bit and then a little bit also into marksmanship, and it was called the Rambo spec. And this kind of reminds me of that. It's kind of a little, it's a little nod to that old Rambo spec, but this time um, you are full melee and everything is dealing with melee, and it has been fun to play around with. Let me just tell you that. I've had a lot of fun playing around with it. I am actually at True Shot Lodge on my 110 character. I found a nice little I wouldn't call it cheat, but I found a little workaround to get myself here. However, if for some reason I get kicked off the server, I have to start the video all over again because it will kick me out of here. So hopefully that does not happen at all, and we will be able to successfully go through all of this without any problems. In this first video, we will be looking at the removed, changed, and new abilities for a survival hunter in World of Warcraft Legion, and then in the second video we will take a look at the talents. And once again, let me promise you that pretty much everything is brand new for a survival hunter. It is completely different. I'll go ahead and use these target dummies on the left hand side, on the right hand side here, so you can see well. And as I said, I found a workaround to get to True Shot Lodge when technically you shouldn't be able to get here, and so a lot of you won't see any other hunters here. It's just going to be me and my other NPC hunter buddies out here. So let's go ahead and get into it. For this video, we will be looking at the abilities and the artifact weapon. In the second video, we will be looking at the PvP and PvE talents. So a two-video series looking at Survival Hunter. The weapon, you can see right here, I have a spear as my this wonderful looking spear as my artifact weapon. We'll get to that at the end, but first let's go ahead and start moving into the removed abilities. This will start really hurting, but don't worry, you have almost as many abilities that are being removed. You have almost as many new abilities coming to the game. I mean, because it truly is a brand new spec, and I hope to get this done as fast as I can, but this could possibly be the longest video I make other than the Demon Hunter videos, because these are literally brand new specs. So, with that being said, let's look into removed abilities. Arcane Shot, removed. No longer available. It is now a marks only ability. You do not have access to it. Aspect of the Cheetah has been, the ability as you know it is gone. It is still there in name. It has changed, but the ability as you know it has been removed. Aspect of the Pact has been removed. This is something across all hunters, so you shouldn't really, worry about that too much. Black Arrow has been removed. It is actually now a talent for marksmanship hunters, so it has been removed and put onto marksmanship hunters talent tree. Camouflage has been removed. It's a talent now, so you as a survival hunter actually still have access to it, but it's been removed and is now a talent. Cobra Shot has been removed, which was kind of the staple of the old survival hunter. I mean, the whole point of the old survival hunter was basically, you dealt all this elemental damage. Most of it being nature damage, but you also had some fire damage mixed in and so forth, and then you had the Black Arrow. And the whole point is that you were the elemental hunter. You did all the elemental damage, and really, that's not really defining for a hunter. So that's all just been tossed. So Cobra Shot has been moved, is now Beast Mastery specific, the Cobra Shot. So it's Beast Mastery specific, it has been removed. Concussive shot has been removed. You are no longer a ranged class, so you no longer have access to concussive shot. Disengage has been removed. The whole point of disengage is to get away from your opponent. You don't necessarily want to get away from your opponent as a survival hunter. You want to be up in their face. And so that has been removed. Distracting shot has been removed. That's been removed across all hunters across the board. Explosive shot has been removed. That was kind of a main ability as a hunter. It is now a Mark's talent. It's different though. It's actually like a skill shot, I guess you could say. It is not the same explosive shot that you know. So it's back in name only, and it's in the Mark's talent tree. Mastery, Essence of Viper is gone. That kind of goes with the fact that, you know, survival hunters are pretty much all gone altogether. So there's really nothing that you can do there about that. Master's Call has been removed, and is actually a PvP talent, so you still have access to it. Survival hunters still use pets. In fact, all 3 hunters still have access to pets. Beast Mastery, as you've seen in the previous video, really goes into having all kinds of different pets. But in this one, you still have your pet by your side, and there are abilities that work with your pet. Marks is more the one where you have your pet, and you can decide to not have your pet with a talent, depending on that. But survival still very much in sync with your pet. Blizzard still feels that hunters and pets go together, and they should stay that way. Misdirection has been removed. Once again, pretty much anything with a shot has been removed from a survival hunter. Multi-shot has been removed. It is now gone. You have a new way of doing AoE now. Tranquilizing shot has been removed. I was kind of irritated about this. This has been removed across the board, and I use this a lot as a survival hunter, and I will say that survival hunter has been mostly my main spec throughout history. When I first got my hunter up in Wrath of the Lich King, I played survival when no one else would. I had my aim shot survival build, and it was awesome, especially since I loved mana so much better, so much more than focus. Since then, survival has never really been the same for me, and so I'm kind of excited with this new change that's coming around, back to the Rambo playstyle of Burning Crusade. Trap launcher has been removed. This wouldn't be a big deal for the other specs. However, traps are still available for a survival hunter, and that is really the only place you're really going to find your old abilities, is through trap launcher. That's the only place that they exist, and it is I mean, that's the only place that traps exist now, is on your survival hunter. So having trap launcher there would sort of make sense, but at the same time they've just kind of changed it so that abilities that they feel should naturally be on trap launcher are going to be on trap launcher, and then abilities that they would rather not be on trap launcher, you now put down right in front of you. So they kind of decided that for you. Entrapment has been removed. That used to be a big part of survival hunter. That root effect, it's now gone. Lightning reflexes has been removed. I believe that was a static buff. They've removed all static buffs across the board. Serpent Sting has been removed. It's actually still there as a talent. Serpent Sting was an ability that allowed several of your shots to apply Serpent Sting to the target. It's now back as a talent, and we'll discuss that in the next video. And then lastly, True Shot Aura has been removed. Once again, like lightning reflexes, pretty much all of these shots have just been removed from the game, and they're no longer needed there. All these regular shots, all of these buffs and auras in the game have just been removed and no longer needed there. So that's all of the removed abilities for a survival hunter, and if you're counting them down and whatnot, you've literally been gutted of everything that did DPS. You basically have auto shot now if you're still thinking that it's a ranged spec, but it's not. So let's go ahead and look at the changed abilities. Now I did this differently with Beast Mastery Hunter, but this is kind of the same across the board. I said deterrence was removed, and I'm changing it here in this video because in that video I said deterrence is removed, and then a new ability was Aspect of the Turtle. Here I'm just telling you that deterrence is a changed ability, and it's renamed Aspect of the Turtle, and it has a new visual effect. Deterrence is still in the game. Technically, it's just now called Aspect of the Turtle. I'll go ahead and use it here. You can see I have this little shell pop over me. Pretty simple. That is the new deterrence, so to say. Cooldown still the same. Everything's still the same. It's now referred to as Aspect of the Turtle. Explosive Trap. I generally do not comment on damage numbers. But in this case, I'm going to Explosive Trap has had its damage drastically increased. That's all I'm going to say is drastically increased, because dealing with the numbers on a 110 hunter versus a level 100 hunter are a little bit difficult. So I'm just going to say that putting Explosive Trap down now is actually going to do a ton of damage. 101,000 plus another 101,000 on top of that. So it's going to do a lot. I'll go ahead and use it right here. I'll launch it right here. It's going to hit all these targets, and then it's just going to start doing lots of damage over time. It does a lot of damage. All of them can crit and so forth, so Explosive Trap is going to be a very useful trap to use in your kit, and it's going to be a very useful source of damage. Counter Shot, this is kind of getting a little bit of the same treatment as Deterrence. It's now been renamed Muzzle. It is your interrupt, so it is now called Muzzle. Its range has been reduced from 40 yards to 5, so that's kind of in line with the fact that you're no longer a ranged class. And its cooldown has been reduced from 24 seconds to 15 seconds, so that's also kind of in line with melee specs. Pretty much all the melee specs have their interrupts on a 15-second cooldown. This is to bring it in line. I don't think there's Muzzle right there. It's just a turnaround swipe of your spear, and that's it. So after that, we have Ice Trap, which has been changed. It is now named Tar Trap. It lasts 30 seconds down from 39. 39 sounds like a very odd number, and I'm not too sure about that, to be completely honest. But my live hunter had 39 seconds. It is now at a point where it only will last 30 seconds on that Tar Trap. So let me go ahead first. I just realized that I need to actually go through and get rid of all of the talents that actually augment abilities or replace abilities, because then I will lose track of the actual abilities, and I'll lose track of the abilities that I actually need to show you. So that should take care of that. And so here we have Tar Trap. And I will go ahead and use it. It normally does not have a 12-second cooldown, but I believe I am forced to take improved traps so that I can show you guys what this can do. Its cooldown is still the same as it is on live, as Ice Trap is on live, which is a 24-second cooldown. So I'm going to go ahead and use Tar Trap for you here. And this is one of the abilities that they feel just it required Trap Launcher. So Tar Trap will always have Trap Launcher, whereas Explosive Trap does not. Tar Trap will. And I'll go ahead and launch it here, chuck it out here, and then you'll see I have this gooey looking stuff on the ground. I'm not gonna lie, the visual effect on this is in my opinion pretty lame, but it still functions the same. 50% reduced movement speed, etc. It's still there. So the only thing you're really missing is you're missing a lot of the cool buffs that came from glyphs. Like I think Black Ice was one of my favorites, where you actually like started moving faster. On top of it, you no longer have access to that. Lastly, there is Survivalist. It no longer increases damage from multi-strikes. Multi-strike is a stat that I believe has been just completely eliminated from World of Warcraft Legion, so that's something you don't have to worry about anymore. So all in all, not too many changed abilities, a lot of removed abilities, and now we're going to get into a ton of brand new abilities. So let's go ahead and get started. First, Aspect of the Cheetah. This is one of the first abilities that I said was removed, and that's because the ability is removed, but the name still stays. The new Aspect of the Cheetah is it increases your movement speed by 90% for 3 seconds, and then by 30% for another 9 seconds. So I'll go ahead and use it here. As you can see here, it still functions and looks exactly the same, but it changes a little bit. So it's a little bit of a more, gives you an escape option, or in the case of a survival hunter, more of a, kind of trying to track down and get to them, an option for actually tracking someone down instead. So that's something that you can choose to chase someone down or not. It's entirely up to you. The next one is called Aspect of the Eagle. It grants you and your pets, it's a 1.6 minute cooldown, and it grants you and your pet 10% increased critical strike chance on all your abilities, and increases your chance to gain charges of Mongoose Bite by 100%. So it may be a little confusing, and that's because we haven't gone through all the new abilities yet. You may remember Mongoose Bite. We're starting to get back all of these old abilities that we had way back in Burning Crusade, that were never used as a survival hunter. They were their melee options in case hunters got in their dead zone. If hunters have forgotten their dead zone, they had a dead zone, and these were abilities that you could use if they got in dead zone, and they were removed because the dead zone was removed, and now they're back for the melee hunter spec of survival now. So, just know that you have a chance to gain charges of your Mongoose Bite by 100%. That will be a big deal. And then you have the 10% increased critical hit chance. I'll go ahead and use it here. It actually is a 2-minute cooldown, but you'll see when we get to the artifact weapon that there is a wonderful talent there that reduces all of your aspects by, I believe, 20%, which is really nice to have. So I'll go ahead and use it here. You can see it just pops it up. I believe Aspect of the Eagle used to be in the game. It was Wrath of the Lich King that it was first introduced, and it was like a damage buff, so they didn't have to waste any effort on new spell visuals, which is kind of disappointing. You're going to notice they didn't really do a very good job with new spell visuals on Survival Hunter, especially considering this is a brand new spec, but that is the old spell visual for Aspect of the Eagle, and it's now being used for this new version of Aspect of the Eagle. So, the next new ability is Carve. This is going to be your first ability that is going to be your your first actually damage ability. And this is your replacement for Multi-Shot. Carve, it costs 40 focus, and a sweeping attack that strikes all enemies in front of you for 28,000 physical damage. So this is like Cleave for warriors. So I'll just come up here and you'll see I can just carve right in front of me. And all these targets are getting hit in front of me, which is pretty cool. Costs a lot though, so you gotta pay attention to that. But that is your main AoE DPS ability, is that right there, which is Carve. Multi-shot gone, instead you have Carve. Next ability, Exhilaration. This has become baseline for all hunters. They have lost a lot in terms of Master's Call and some other abilities. They've lost Camouflage baseline, and so what they've done in turn is given us Exhilaration as baseline, and Exhilaration was a talent. It now is just a baseline ability, and it heals you for 30% of your health and your pet for 100% of their maximum health, and it's a 2-minute cooldown. No complaints there. Wonderful ability to have. Next ability on the list, we have Flanking Strike. This one's completely brand new. This was not a part of Hunters in the past. This is completely brand new. I'm going to pull this up because this is a mouthful. It is 50 focus Flanking Strike, a coordinated attack on the target where you deal 66,000 physical damage and your pet deals 65,000 physical damage. If the target is attacking you, your pet's attack will deal 50% increased damage and 400% increased threat. Otherwise, your attack will deal 50% increased damage. Flanking Strike has double the normal chance to trigger Hunting Companion. Once again, another ability that we will get to later, and once we get to these abilities, I will double back so that you can see where that this comes into play. When we get to Mongoose Bite, I will double back and show you Aspect of the Eagle, and then when we get to Hunting Companion, which is actually your mastery, we will double back to Flanking Strike just so that you understand how they interact. But let's go up here and go ahead and attack this here, and we'll go ahead and use flanking. Well, if I get my pet to attack this here. Come on, pet. Alright, attack this here, and we're both attacking the same target, and I will use Flanking Strike right there. So tons of taunt went on our pet because the target was technically focusing me, but that is the ability. It does have a 5.78 second cooldown, so that's something that you need to take note of. The next ability that you have is Harpoon. This is your charge ability, and this is insane. I am pretty sure that there's not a single ability in game that has this much length in terms of being able to this much distance of a charge. I think regular charge is 30 yards, I believe, something like that, 25 or 30 yards. This is a 40-yard charge. It is insane. 20-second cooldown, hurls a harpoon at the enemy, rooting them in place for 3 seconds and pulling you to them. Ooh, can't even get that out of my get that out correctly. Jeez. Okay, so it's everything warriors want their charge to be. It has the root in it, which warriors would love to have. The only thing warriors would want more is for them to have lower cooldown, but warriors are stuck technically with that 20-second cooldown too, which really stinks for them. But this is 40 yards. So I'm at the 40-yard range. You're going to see just how far I'm going to be able to do this. So I'm going to launch this harpoon out, and it launches me forward, which is pretty cool. Now I have post haste, which is a talent that you guys should know, which makes me really fast. That's not a part of it. So normally you do not speed up there, but harpoon allows you to literally just fly across the battlefield and catch up to someone. Survival has some great sticking power to characters, which is a lot of fun. And I really do enjoy the sticking power that a survival hunter has. And it makes them, and you know, they need it now that they're a melee class. So I will say that warriors should be pretty jealous of harpoon because of its range. It's insane, and the root that's added onto it, and it still pretty much has the same cooldown as theirs, unless they take, I believe there's their talent that allows them to have two charges or whatever. 2 charges of charge, um, if you put that all together. But harpoon, extremely potent, and it's not the only ability. For some reason, Blizzard felt that survival hunters should be allowed to have this insane 40-yard range on their abilities to catch up on people, and harpoon is just the beginning. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I think of harpoon, I think of actually, tagging someone and pulling them in, not pulling yourself to the target. But Blizzard gave a really, I'm going to be honest, a really sad excuse saying that Death Grip was an iconic ability for the Death Knights, and so it would not be right for Harpoon to function like a Death Grip. I always thought Charge was an iconic warrior ability, and they've given it to everyone. Shamans now have it, Druids have it, now survival hunters have it. So I find that excuse to be really weak, because when you harpoon something, you usually are pulling it in, not pulling yourself to it, but that's just the way it is. So I would prefer to see it the other way, but otherwise 40-yard range, you really can't complain with that. The next new ability we have is Hatchet Toss, which is basically your ranged ability. You have a 30-yard range, and it tosses 3 axes at an enemy, dealing 46,000 physical damage. It costs 15 focus. 46,000 physical damage is a lot. We'll compare it in a second to something else that's close to the same. Actually, I'm sorry, that was throwing axes that I was looking at. Hatchet Toss right here is this. It's a 5 to 30-yard range, tosses a hatchet at an enemy, dealing 2,300 physical damage. So this is basically just a, hey, I want to keep you in combat, okay? And that's entirely what it is. I'm not quite sure. There's a little bit of a delay there in when the actual visual of the Hatchet Toss goes out, but otherwise, that is Hatchet Toss. Doesn't cost anything, so this is basically just to make sure someone stays in combat until your harpoon can come up again, and then you can just chuck in and then start wailing on them. The next ability is Lacerate. I do not remember if this was an old ability or not. I do not think it was, but this is basically your Warrior's Rend. So you come in here and you tears a bleeding wound in the target, dealing 350,000 physical damage over 12 seconds. I think that's incorrect because of this buff up here. Let's check this here. 297,000 physical damage over 12 seconds. So we'll go ahead and use this here. There we go. Jump up in the air, slice down, and then I have that Lacerate bleeding damage just ticking off for 17,000 per tick. So that's pretty nice to have on the target. It's a 10-second cooldown, so basically you just have to make sure that your Lacerate stays on the target for you to be doing optimal damage. Next ability, Mongoose Bite. This is one of the abilities that returns. To hunters in general, this used to be one of their abilities, and now Mongoose Bite is back. It attempts to sever the target's limbs with a brutal attack that deals 92,000 physical damage and grants you Mongoose Fury. Mongoose Fury increases Mongoose Bite damage by 50% for 12 seconds, stacking up 6 times. Successive attacks do not increase duration. Notice that I have 3 charges on this, and it's 11.6 seconds per recharge. So it'll take 30 seconds to get all the way back up to 3 charges again, but you have 3 charges of it. It is a 5-yard range. It is a melee range ability. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to start using Mongoose Bite. And then you're going to see, after I've used all the charges of Mongoose Bite, you're going to see the buff right here. Damage dealt by Mongoose Bite increased by 150%. So you can see how Mongoose Fury builds up really quickly. Now, I said I would go back. Let's go back to the ability that really affects this. Aspect of the Eagle. Grants you and your pet 10% increased critical strike chance on all your abilities, and increases your chance to gain charges of Mongoose Bite by 100%. So, I'm going to get the 3rd charge here in a second, and I'm going to pop, after I've burned 2 of these, I'll probably pop Aspect of the Eagle, and then, whoops, I did it the wrong direction, that's fine. So I will go through, and I will burn all of these, and see if I can get some more Mongoose Bite charges, and I did not, unfortunately. We will explain later on how you're able to get more Mongoose Bite charges, but that is kind of one of your burst damage abilities, especially if you're able to stack up to 6 times really quickly. That's a 300% increased damage, and it actually interacts with your artifact weapon, which we will get to once we're done looking through all these different weapons. So, after Mongoose Bite, there's a new ability called Pet Utility, and it's basically a spellbook cleanup. If I pull up my spellbook here, traps also have been cleaned up before I get to Pet Utility. I can open up and all of my traps will now be located in the same place. And same thing with Pet Utility. So Beast Lore, Dismiss Pet, Feed Pet, Mend Pet, and Tame Beast. These are all in one little nice place called Pet Utility. You can separate them on your bars if you want, or you can just put Pet Utility on your bar and then use the drag out menu from there. It is entirely up to you. With that, let's go ahead and take a look at Raptor Strike, another very familiar ability that comes back after being gone for about 3 expansions. Raptor Strike is your basic damage ability for a survival hunter, a vicious slash dealing 45,000 physical damage. So this is your basic go-to ability. So you have your Mongoose Bite, which you really want for your damage buffs, and then you have your Raptor Strikes for your damage. And then there's Flanking Strikes, which will be even better, but that actually has a cooldown. You could say that Raptor Strike is your lower focus, focus burning ability that you have. Whereas stuff like Mongoose Bite, which does not cost any focus and is cooldown related, and Flanking Strike, which is cooldown related but does cost a lot of focus, are a little bit different in how they will, how you'll be dealing your damage with those. So, Raptor Strike, I believe, is always going to be your fallback option. That's the way it's always going to be. The last ability, or sorry, there's 2 more to look at, but the last actual ability to look at is another returning ability, and that is Wing Clip. Wing Clip was the ability that allowed you to slow your target and allowed the hunter to gain some space so that they could get out of the dead zone. I guess it worked in paper, but it didn't really work actually out there in the world and in PvP. So this ended up getting the axe a while ago, and it was always Concussive Shot from then on. So this basically replaces Concussive Shot. Maims the target, reducing movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds. It does cost 30 focus, though. It's expensive. So that's something you're going to have to be careful of. It is a 15-second slow, so the slow lasts a long time. So you can pop this on them, and then you can start wailing on them with your abilities. You can catch up to them with your harpoon toss, etc. But there's no denying that having a 30 focus cost does hurt. With that, there's one last ability to take a look at, and that is Mastery Hunting Companion. So, your pet's attacks have a 4.1% chance to grant you an additional charge of Mongoose Bite. So, this can become important, and I'm going to go back to, I believe it was Flanking Strike. Yes. Flanking Strike, at the very end of the tooltip, Flanking Strike has double the normal chance to trigger Hunting Companion. So it's basically saying that Flanking Strike has double the chance for you to activate another Mongoose Bite, so get a Mongoose Bite charge, and then, of course, that will allow you to stack your Mongoose Bite damage, Mongoose Fury up, which will give you more Mongoose Bite damage. So, as a survival hunter, in review, kind of reviewing everything, you are going to want to get this Mongoose Fury up. That's what you're building around, is getting that Mongoose Fury up to deal damage. Raptor Strike is what you use when you have nothing else to do and you have some focus to burn. Flanking Strike is going to be more popular when it's off cooldown because it does more damage. Your pet's able to taunt. You're able to get burst damage if your pet actually has aggro, and it doubles the chance of you getting more Mongoose strikes. And Lacerate will be something that you're always going to have up on the target. So that's basically how the ins and outs of a survival hunter will work. If I were to give it something that it's close to, I honestly couldn't tell you. They've tried to design something different here, something that's different from what we're used to. Your traps are very much in play. Your freezing trap still works the same. It has a trap launcher. I'll chuck it out there. You can see the trap launch out like that, and it still looks the same. So your traps are going to come into play, and when we start looking at the talents, you'll see how traps come into play more. But when it comes down to things, I mean, yes, you'll have access to your Mongoose Bite, and you'll be using that Mongoose Bite along with Raptor Strike and your Flanking Strike, but also you'll be using your Explosive Trap to also deal a lot of damage, and then you also have Carve for AoE damage as well. So, there's a lot of damage to be had with a survival hunter, and it's just a new playstyle, and something that people are just gonna, it's different for a hunter. Hunters have only known range forever. If you are a Wrath baby, it seems kind of weird saying that, but if you're a Wrath baby, you have no idea really what it means to be in melee with a hunter too much. I mean, after when Wrath came out, they just didn't exist. Now it's back, and now you have the opportunity, and I hope you guys really do check this out. So that took a really long time, but this was a brand new spec, a brand new, just complete overhaul, and so I had to go through everything. And so with that, we will finally be able to get into the artifact weapon. First, let's look at the artifact weapon ability, which is Fury of the Eagle. Furiously strikes all enemies in front of you, dealing 262,000 physical damage. Damage is increased by your Mongoose Fury. That's huge, okay? So Mongoose Fury has the potential to increase damage by up to 300%. That means this damage can be increased by 300%, which is broken. It does a lot of damage. The only problem is that it's a cast time. It's channeled, which is kind of frustrating. Now, the only thing that's confusing about the cooldown, the tooltip is that it doesn't say how long it's lasts. And it doesn't say if it's per tick or if it's over amount of time, but we're going to go ahead and test it right here just so you can see. We'll go ahead and build up our Mongoose Bites as best we can. We'll use all 3 charges, we'll use Aspect of the Eagle, and see if we can't get some extra Mongoose Bites. I just got 3 right there. And before it goes away, I'll use this. And it looks like it's ticking for 173,000 per. That's about how much it did. It did a lot. It had a critical in there for 469,000 damage, which is a lot. Considering my health pool is 1.49, that's a third of someone's health bar. It's a lot of damage. The only irritating thing about this, and this is only because I've done the Windwalker video, is that I cannot move while using that, which is frustrating, and hopefully that's something they may change in the future. But that's something that right now you can't move. So you're going to have to snare them, root them in place. If you remember, your harpoon roots them in place. So if you're able to harpoon them and then use it, we'll see how things go. I'm going to do it again just so we can see the damage output of this. And right there, it looks like we're getting 88,000 per tick. It looks like 43,000 per tick. 43,000 per tick. So it looks like over the course of the time, it will do 298,000. Right now I'm buffed by this trinket here. Over the course of the time, it will deal 262,000 physical damage. That can be buffed by Mongoose Bite to deal a lot of damage. I had 5 stacks of Mongoose Bite, which means I had a 250% increase when I first did it the first time. And when it was doing it that first time, it was hitting for 173,000 physical damage per tick. And in total, because I did not move, it hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 5 times. So it hits for 5 times. That makes me to believe that is a 5-second cast time on that ability. We'll do it one more time just to see. We'll use it right here. Fury of the Eagle. 5 times. It will hit 5 times. That is the damage you can expect to get out of Fury of the Eagle. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the talent tree, because this video is already getting very long, and that's because we have a brand new spec to look at here. So this wonderful weapon that I have is called Talon Claw, Spear of the Wild Gods. That's a fun name. Speaking of fun names, I need to get rid of the stupid title that they always give pre-made characters. So, with that, let's go ahead and take a look. Everything will always start at the beginning in the bottom right hand for this artifact weapon. It'll begin in the bottom right, and you'll have to build your way through. There are 3 epic portraits that are kind of like the big deal. Those are the ones you want. Otherwise, you'll start down here at the bottom, and you'll have to work your way through. So let's go ahead and go through all of them. You already know the first one, Fury of the Eagle. Let's go ahead and look at the next. We have Iron Talons, increases physical damage you deal by 8%. We have Hell Carver. Carve deals 10% increased damage for each additional target hit. I don't have a really good way to show that. Some of these targets are up in the air here. Let's see if I can use Carve right here. It hit just one target. I only hit it for 22,000 there. And then with these little mini targets where I can hit all of them, I was hitting for 59. That was a crit there. 31,000 is what we're hitting for there. So, definitely an increase there. We have Sharpened Fang, increases the damage dealt by Mongoose Bite by 10%. And if you notice, it actually is using the old Mongoose Bite icon there. We have Raptor's Cry, increases the damage dealt by Raptor Strike by 15%. 3 ranks, so that's going to be 5% per rank. We have My Beloved Monster, increases the critical strike of Flanking Strike by 10%. Once again, 3 ranks, so it'll be like 3, 3, and then it'll be like 3%, 6%, and then 10%. Or 3, 7, and 10%. I'm not quite sure how they do it. We have these 2 epic portraits here. First is Aspect of the Sky Lord. Aspect of the Eagle increases all damage you deal by 30% for its duration. So it's a very powerful buff. And remember, the Aspect of the Eagle is only on a 1.6 minute cooldown due to one of these aspects that we'll get to real soon. Up here at the top we have Talon Strike. Your basic attacks have a chance to trigger 2 rapid additional blows. I have not seen this activate yet. We can sit here and attack this target and see if it'll actually do it. We'll just let it sit there and see if it actually does it in time. I'm not sure if it actually will. But if it shows up, we'll definitely notice right there. And if you want, you can rewind the video for 5 seconds and see it actually show up there on the damage meters. But let's go ahead and continue on. We have Strength of the Mountain, increases physical damage you deal by 6%. We have Terms of Engagement, which is going to be the remaining cooldown on Harpoon is reset when you kill an enemy. That's actually pretty nice. And did Talon Strike just happen there? I think Talon Strike might have happened there. It did. So you can see in my actual, if you can see my actual actions video, or my action bar at the bottom, it'll say my melee hit for a certain amount, and then I hit for Talon Strike for an extra 19,000, and then another 19,000. So that was an example of Talon Strike going through. Honestly, that's a really, really, really boring epic portrait. In fact, that's probably one of the worst I've ever seen. So, back on track. Terms of Engagement, the remaining cooldown on your Harpoon is reset when you kill an enemy. You have Birds of Prey. Raptor Strike heals you for 10% of the damage it heals. So Raptor Strike, not only is it kind of like that filler, it can heal you as well, which can be pretty useful. We have Embrace of the Aspects, reduces the cooldown of your aspects by 20%. So that's the one that I've been talking about. So that's why Aspect of the Cheetah is at 2.4 minute cooldown instead of 3 minutes. And Aspect of the Eels at 1.6, and Aspect of the Turtles at 2.4. We have Hunter's Bounty, reduces the remaining cooldown on Exhilaration by 15 seconds each time you kill an enemy. So killing enemies is going to be pretty important to keeping you not only your survivability, but you're able to continually harp on other uh, characters just by having the reset when you kill someone. You'll have harpoon reset, and you'll have exhilaration reduced, so you get some sustainability out of that. There's Hunter's Guile, reduces the cooldown on your traps by 20%. That is a nice ability to have. That basically brings your traps down to, it looks like 20.4. Sorry, that is incorrect because I know I have a talent that brings it down. That brings it down to 24 seconds. So traps are originally at 30, they're brought down to 24. I believe that was somewhat baseline for survival in Warlords of Draenor, so really no change there, except for the actual have to talent into it. This is actually one of the most underwhelming talent trees for any of the artifact weapons. So with that, we have Hunter's Guile, we have Lacerating Talons, increases the damage dealt by lacerate by 10%. We have Fluffy Go, which increases your pet's haste by 15%. And then lastly, we have Eagle's Bite. Harpoon applies on the trail, a unique damage over time effect that deals 11,000 damage over 12 seconds and is refreshed by auto attacks. That's pretty cool. So I have not seen that actually activate. I'll use it here, and it's not actually showing up. Oh yes, it is showing up on the target here. Melee attacks can extend this effect by 6 seconds per effect. However, I do not believe that is functioning correctly at the moment because it definitely did not, on the trail did not extend there. So there are a couple of bug fixes throughout survival to go through, but for the most part, most of it is intact, and they are now in the debugging phase and damage modifying phase of the beta client. So that is everything for Survival Hunters. I know this is by far the longest video I've ever done, but that is because this is a brand new spec. Probably expect it to be like this for the Death Knight, the Demon Hunter videos that will come out, and that's because they are completely brand new and different. I won't have to be going through removed and changed abilities, but I will have to be going through every single new ability that they have so that I can explain them all to you, which will be quite the task. In the next video, we'll be looking at PvE and PvP talents. Very little has remained from your PvE talents because, I mean, everything's changed. So expect some pretty brand new abilities coming through, and it'll take us a little bit of time to go through them. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys in the next video. This is a lot of fun for Survival Hunters, and I will see you guys later. Tearless out.